Hey everybody, this is Kodak here, and in between Wave 3 videos, I figured I'd do a quick discussion on my thoughts on the current health of the brand. Now, I did see Negative Legends' video on the subject that covered the same thing, and I don't necessarily agree with everything he said. I mean, cut the fluff? That's not something that works in a trading card game, dude. But I've actually been mulling over my own ideas for quite some time, and I figured now's probably the best time to talk about it. Now, the Bakugan card game, the card game itself, the series has been doing okay. The card game has been doing way above what I think are Spin Master's expectations, and as a result, there are a lot of things that they clearly need to change. When I use the term familiar mistakes, I wasn't just referring to mistakes they made with Bakugan, I'm referring to mistakes they made in general, because this is not the first trading card game Spin Master has made. In fact, at one point I referred to the Bakugan trading card game as Redakai, which is this game right here, done right. And I actually meant that as a compliment. It shows that they improved. But the thing is, a lot of the stuff that they did with the marketing and sale of Redakai, they are doing the same thing with Bakugan Battle Planet. The same mistakes that got Redakai in a heap of trouble. And I'm going to go into more detail on that later. I think there's a reason why the feelings boiled over at the stream for the Emerald City Comic Con, which, while I do appreciate the fact that the Bakugan PR guys felt that they should, reach out to the community and keep us, in touch with what's happening at the conventions, to a lot of people it kind of reeked of amateur hour, and it kind of exemplified what a lot of people think of Bakugan Battle Planet at the moment, and that it looks kind of roughshod and disorganized, and that is not the image you want to give off for a trading card game. If you ask me, the biggest mistake that Spin Master is making, the same mistake they made with Redakai, is that they're selling it as a toy, and Spin Master's a toy company. Of course, that's how they're gonna sell it, because, they're a toy company. But the thing about trading card games is the audience is different, the rules are different, there's different expectations and taboos, and that's something that they really need to work on. I was, when I saw the layout for the road show that they're taking to the conventions, I honestly thought that this place that they called the Drome was just the glorified name of a streaming booth, and I was actually kind of surprised to discover that it wasn't. I mean, it's a minor slip up, but it's one that matters to a lot of people because, I went to my local Pokemon trading card game regionals, and they had the Denver regionals streaming on a TV as everybody else was playing their own local regionals, so that kind of thing really matters to a lot of gamers. But anyway, to get more into specifics, the way you keep a card game healthy is through organized play, where the companies work together with local hobby stores who can dedicate time and space to meetups and tournaments. That's how you do it. And I'm only glossing over that just to get everybody on the same page, because I am dead certain Spin Master already knows this, and they are no doubt already working on it. In fact, I imagine that the Emerald City Comic Con, that big setup, it's not just to court the public, but also to catch the attention of retailers who might be able to carry it. Although at the same time, it is very clear that Spin Master needs to pivot on their strategy. Their plan was to not have organized play start until 2020, and it's very clear that that's not a viable option now, and they need to pivot their strategy to get that going sooner. And it's perfectly doable. Just last year, Lightseekers managed to pivot itself out of a black hole, out of the abyss of sheer destruction, by aggressively pivoting its strategy to center more on its card game, support organized play, put out an app that's basically a digital version of the card game. They did that so well, they now have the Warhammer license. And I know the Warhammer license is fairly easy to acquire, but acquiring the Warhammer license for a tabletop game, that kind of blows my mind. So we do have an example of it being possible with Lightseekers as an example here. I mean, in a perfect world, Spin Master would have this going by summer when all the kids have nothing to do, and it would be a great time to give them a new hobby, and by Thanksgiving at the latest. But like I said, that too is something I am certain Spin Master knows about and is working on, and that's not the subject of this number one slot here. What I am talking about is they need to wrangle their supply chain. Now, Spin Master's a toy company. They have a pretty well-established supply chain where stuff basically goes straight from their production facilities to warehouses where they get put out at like Walmart, Target. I'm certain they have a distribution system for a lot of for any like specialty retailers who carry just a few of their products and can't like make the large orders. They probably do it through a series of distributors or something like that. But The thing is, they have been playing kind of fast and loose with the release date. Like, the stated release date that Ventus Knight gave us through Twitter for Bakugan Resurgence was May 15th. And when did it hit store shelves? Later the afternoon of that tweet. So that's missing the street date by a month and a half. And here's the thing about that, is that exact sort of laissez-faire attitude, while it might work for children's toys, which can just be allowed to show up whenever, for trading card games, it literally got Redakai thrown out of stores. I remember there was a post by an angry local hobby store who said they were getting rid of the game, they were throwing it out because people were showing up at the store with cards that they shouldn't have been able to get yet because Walmart broke street date by over a month. I mean, card games break street date all the time, but it's usually by like a couple of days, usually well after any kind of pre-release event meant to help support interest in the game and hobby stores. But but before the listed street date, and there tends to be like some penalties to that. Most card games are distributed, are sent out to these stores through distributors. Like that big rack in front of your Target or your Walmart, that's not done by Target and Walmart. Instead, that work is farmed out to a distributor. And in my neck of the woods, that distributor is MJ Holdings. It might be different where you live, but they farm that work out, and thus that distributor is responsible for maintaining street date and making sure that that is done well. Here's the thing, is they really need to wrangle their supply chain, at least with the booster packs and maybe the starter decks as well, because local hobbyists, with trading card games, street date is kinda sacred, and like I said, violating that got Redakai thrown out. It was one of the big nails in its coffin. I mean, the actual toys, like the booster pack, like the actual Bakugan, those can keep going how they are. I mean, it would be nice if they could stabilize the distribution of those to make it, concrete across all regions rather than that slow rolling wave that takes me a month to get any new Bakugan. But, like I said, trading card games are different. There's expectations of that a street date will be set and met. And what happened here was either, a huge oversight in allowing Bakugan Resurgence to hit the store shelves early, or Ventus Knight was, again, fed bad information. They seem to feed Ventus Knight a lot of bad information. Yeah, stop doing that. It's making him look bad. But, yeah, Bakugan Resurgence, I mean, here's the thing, is the factories send out what they have, and the stores put out what they're sent. That's not going to change. If Spin Master could find a distributor to sell, like, the actual booster packs and starter decks, or if they set up something themselves just to get that supply chain in control and locked down, that would help tremendously. Because if they want to sell to local game stores, they need to get that done. Because right now they're trying to handle everything themselves, and games like Magic and Pokemon, they all work through distributors in order to get to local hobby stores. In fact, I think even the big chain stores, like I said, they have like people like MJ Holdings who come out and do the work on them. So wrangling their supply chain should probably be their number one priority if they want to get organized play going. Number two, and this is sort of a wish list item from me, but I would love it if Spin Master printed their cards locally. Right now, the Bakugan cards are made in China, just like the toys, which is why they kind of have that crummy feel. They're kind of low quality, and they're really, really, really poorly collated. It's not at all unusual for you to bust open a pack and just get a straight run of cards that are like 165, 166, 167. You just get cards all in a row, just cards like straight up in number order in your booster packs, and that is the fault of really lousy collation. And it's also led to cards being really poorly distributed across all regions. Like, I pulled a full playset of Leah Venegas, a Bakugan Elite card, like the highest rarity, in Hex, the alternative rarity, so crazy rare cards, and I have not pulled a single copy of Nature's Power, which is supposed to be an uncommon, and I think a lot of that has to do with poor distribution. But as I was saying, the big three, Magic, Pokemon, Konami, even though Pokemon and Konami are headquartered outside of the United States, in Japan, they still print their cards in the United States. There are tons of print shops, like in most of the regions that these card games are sold, that already have the kit necessary to die cut and print the cards, to slap them into booster packs, to even put them in those cardboard sleeves that nestle in the box that they like to put on the shelf. All of that kit is already there and waiting, and I think that would solve so many problems. A lot of these card printing companies are already working with distributors, so you can get it, more evenly distributed across the board in better regions, better coverage to really stabilize a lot of things. It would improve the card quality. It would improve the collating. It would fix so many problems. I mean, I guess the profit margin would not be as high, but these Bakugan cards have demonstrated that they can move. So it should be something that Spin Master looks forward to in the future, is to figure out if maybe they could shift to printing locally. I mean, you have some games that print all of their cards in Japan and ship it out, or print all their cards in Singapore and ship it out, but those tend to be like the more fringe cases, and we're trying to get Bakugan in the mass, right? And that would a lot of problems would be fixed by printing them locally. I mean, by all means, continue to make the toys in China. By all means, allow them to be distributed how they've been distributed. I mean, even if they come out early with some cards in a new set, the fact that the sheer cost of acquiring enough copies of those cards would be so great that I think people would just see it as like a cool chance to preview the cards. It's like, oh man, I can't wait to get a whole lot more of these cards. And up next, this is another one from me, but I would like to see Spin Master be a bit more serious on their support products. Currently, the only like carrying anything that they've put out is the Baku Carry case, and while it's great for storing Bakugan, it is terrible at storing anything else. It really cannot store the cards because, as I said in my review of it, it cannot support the cards that are inside protective sleeves, which, as I also said, there is a habit so common that even little kids will put their cards in protective sleeves these days, especially the cards that they really like. They want to put them in the sleeves so that they avoid getting damaged. And I can imagine the disappointment that that little kid would have to discover that they can't put their favorite card in the sleeve into the carry case. And you know, that's just, to me, just a big flaw. To me, I once posited the idea of a pro case, which is, you know, basically a Baku Carry case, but only able to store like 3 Bakugan, a deck fully sleeved, and 6 cores. And, you know, all I did was suggest that, and Raging Cajun was on that, and he was like, I'll take a dozen. So I've already established that there would be a market for that kind of thing. I mean, that would be a good place to start. Another good place to start, and I did talk about this before, but it would be great if they could put out a box that could, you know, actually hold cards. I talked about how close this thing came. It unfortunately has these giant flaps here, which would cut into any card you tried to store inside, and of course it's not thick enough to support cards if they were put into protective sleeves. But, you know, if you were to slice these big old flaps away and just have it held shut by that, make it a bit deeper, and include like a tray that can be converted into card storage, and this thing could work really well as card storage. Or you don't even need to put out anything fancy. Like, this is a box that came with the Magic Deck Builder's Toolkit. It's large enough to handle sleeved cards, but it's, you know, it's a very cheap and basic box. You don't really need to do anything crazy about that. Like, imagine if the like, I know they've put out these Battle Brawlers 3-packs, which have an oversized card in them. And this is clearly an attempt to imitate a lot of Pokemon's appeal, although the fact that it really doesn't come with any additional useful components kind of harms it. I mean, you get the cores, but, you know, once you've acquired a few of these, because it's the only thing that the stores have, then it starts to get a little old. If you, like, swapped, like, this package out for a 3-pack that had, like, this package instead, something that could act as card storage, you know, just some dedicated card storage, I bet it would sell. Even little kids would buy it to, like, throw their cards and Bakugan in. I mean, you might want to do something about that, but it's a really important thing. Another thing is, you know, a lot of people have been talking about mats because the arena is incredibly, you know, underwhelming. It's not even large enough to do, like, the 2 card length roll limit. I mean, they also roll out a mat at Emerald City Comic Con, but that thing is huge. I don't know how that thing can be made, like, super affordable. I mean, maybe they could do half mats, but that would require everybody to have a mat. But, anyway, moving on. And then, of course, there's the deck boxes. I already talked about the Pro case, but I still think that that kind of thing would be a good idea. Something that stores exactly what you need to play the game, I think, would be a highly appealing product. You know, you just, you know, make it the same way you make these, or even make it out of a single piece of plastic that just clamshells itself shut, you know, throw it out there for like $8 to $10. People would buy it, I guarantee. You know, if you're having trouble, like, coming up with how to produce the mats and the boards and stuff, the boxes, you know, I might know a guy. And finally, this is just to cover a personal pet peeve of mine. I would change the pack ratios from 6-2-1-1 to 5-3-1-1. Now, what I mean the ratio is 6-2-1-1. That's 6 common cards, 2 rare cards, which is this game's equivalent to uncommons, 1 super rare or higher card, and 1 hex card of any rarity. The thing is, a lot of the cards, particularly the rare cards in the first set, were crazy hard to find. I mean, it doesn't help that basically all the heroes and evolutions were rare or higher, but a lot of really important cards, like I had tremendous trouble finding Nature Power. I got a full playset of Leah Venegas Hex before I even found that. What I'm proposing is changing that to 5 commons, 3 rares, 1 super rare or greater, and 1 hex. That would basically help with, you know, some basic card distribution. It would make it a lot easier for people to find the rare cards that they need, because rare cards should be, like, maybe kind of difficult to find, but not impossible, the way cards like Nature's Power have been. It kind of artificially inflates price, and yada yada yada. I imagine part of that is also a collation problem, but like I said, that's really more of, you know, a pet concern of mine, kind of like with printing locally. Maybe things that don't, you know, affect the series in the long run, but, you know, would be a nice thing to have. So yeah, that's my thoughts on the state of the current Bakugan game. They need to stop treating it like a toy, basically, in general. I mean, it's a toy company, but they need to take it more seriously as a trading card game. They failed to do that with Redakai, and as a result, Redakai, you know, crashed and burned. So hopefully we don't see these same rookie mistakes from Spin Master again. And, you know, like I said, the game is good. The game definitely has the ability to carry itself. Spin Master just needs to, you know, shift that weight in the right direction. So, anyway, next time we'll be back with more Wave 3, and this is Kodak signing off.
Bakugan Brawl, it's a big brawl. Bakugan Brawl is for it all. Bakugan Brawl, standing tall, we're the awesome ones. Powers in our hand, take a stand, saving